them little Bahamian roach. Look, I won't be no rock star. I won't win no race. I just want to be the first Bahamian to get in outer space. Imagine a house on the moon. One nice little clapboard truck. 2-foot cake in the front yard and one outside all in back. We heading in deep space. We taking rig and spring. Yes, we heading in deep space. We taking rig and spring. Look yo, oh gal, throw that boomsy. Young gal, wind your waist. Get ready for the countdown. We heading in deep space. Come on. Yes, man. Oh, look here, we're hearing all this. I can't wait to see that. Come on. Oh, shucks. Check this. Going faster, whoa, yeah. Oh, we're fast, far beyond the stars. Come on, we heading in deep space. We taking rig and spring. Oh, we heading in deep space. Come on, young boy got plenty action. Old man know how to pace. Be ready for the countdown. Record script time. Uncle Jervis beat the goat skin. Stanley blow the comb.
Tonight, SBF granted bail after being extradited to the U.S. We've got the latest on this coming up. This as one family calls for justice after their loved ones was killed by police more than a year ago. And later, gas retailers say get ready for mass layoffs. We've got that story. Eyewitness News starts now.
Eyewitness News is brought to you by BTC. Link up for a BTC Christmas today.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Janae Noel. Thanks so much for joining us and happy holidays. Just hours after his extradition to the United States, founder and former CEO of FTX, Sam Bankman-Fried, has been granted bail. This following his time in a New York court today, stemming from fraud charges related to the collapse of FTX. Our Devontae Hanna has the latest in tonight's top story.
Sam Bankman-Fried granted bail, but at the cost of $250 million. This after he spent 8 nights in the Bahamas Department of Corrections and was whisked away to New York following a week-long battle at the magistrate's court here in Nassau, ending yesterday where it was agreed that he would waive his right to an extradition hearing. The ruling of his bail coming down from a U.S. federal magistrate judge, Gabriel Gorenstein, today in Manhattan, where SBF was not required to enter a plea. The embattled founder and former CEO of FTX is expected to be made to respond to a litany of fraud-related charges, which, according to reports, could land him behind bars for a maximum of 115 years. Per his bail requirements, the 30-year-old billionaire must surrender his passport while on house arrest at his parents' home in Palo Alto, California. Additionally, he would be required to undergo regular mental health treatment and evaluation. This follows the announcement of his co-founder Gary Wang and the former Alameda Research CEO Carolyn Ellison, SBF's reported ex-girlfriend, pled guilty to similar charges and, according to U.S. Attorney Damian Williams, are now cooperating with government in their investigations. Williams' revelation being made yesterday in a video posted on Twitter in which he seized the opportunity to send out a strong warning to those involved in the crimes related to the fallout of FTX.
If you participated in misconduct at FTX or Alameda, now is the time to get ahead of it. We are moving quickly, and our patience is not eternal.
SBF is now in FBI custody after being extradited from the Bahamas to New York last night. His arrest last week in the Bahamas and subsequent extradition stems from the investigation into the collapse of FTX after the company filed for a voluntary Chapter 11 bankruptcy in the United States. The once crypto golden child will now return to court shackled at the hands and feet on January 3rd, 2023 before U.S. District Judge Ronnie Abrams. Devontae Hanna, Eyewitness News.
Well, the U.S. Embassy commending the Bahamian government for its commitment to the rule of law and its logistical assistance in arresting and assisting with the extradition of Sam Bankman-Fried. This being revealed in a statement from the office of the embassy, their public affairs unit, outlining the extradition treaty, which has been in existence since 1994. Now, the statement also pointing to the critical role the Attorney General's office played in the process and officially thanked the Bahamian government, while the U.S. attorney, in a video posted on Twitter, echoing the same.
Many individuals in the Bahamas and in the United States contributed to the swiftness of the defendant's return. And I want to thank the Bahamas for its outstanding assistance and excellent coordination with us. I also want to thank our partners at the United States Embassy in Bahamas and the Justice Department's Office of International Affairs. And finally, I want to thank the FBI for moving mountains to get this done. This was a true team effort. Finally, I want to thank the career prosecutors from my office who were handling this case. We continue to work around the clock, and we are far from done.
Well, in crime news tonight, a 54-year-old male is in hospital after reportedly being stabbed by a group of men in the area of Fox Hill. That incident occurring around 7 p.m. yesterday, and police are feverishly searching for the aggressors. They're also urging members of the public to find alternative ways to resolve their conflicts, as violence, they say, is never the solution. Also from the crime beat tonight, police are looking for 4 armed men who burglarized a home in the Sandyport area last night. According to reports, sometime around 5, the owners returned home from a morning exercise when they met the front door of their residence opened and 4 masked men inside. The assailants reportedly robbed the homeowners of an undisclosed amount of cash and a cell phone before locking the couple up in a bedroom and fleeing. Anyone with information on this incident, you're asked to contact police at 911 or Crime Stoppers at 328-TIPS. Still talking crime news tonight, a 22-year-old man in police custody in connection with a missing 14-year-old girl. Now, the teen was reported missing nearly a month ago, back on Wednesday, November 23rd. The man was arrested shortly after 11 last night after he was found with the teen girl in the Kemp Road area. Investigations are ongoing. Well, last year there were 21 police-involved incidents, with 13 of them being deadly. One of the 13 was Azario Major, who was killed by an off-duty police officer back on December 26. And nearly 1 year later, the family says it's unacceptable that the coroner's inquest has yet to get underway. Our Laurencia Smith spoke with that family tonight and has this report.
I hereby demand a commission of inquiry into the circumstances surrounding Azario Major's death.
That's Frederick Major, the father of 31-year-old Azario Major, who was shot by an off-duty police officer last December in the area of Fire Trail Road. Here's what police shared with the media that took place on the scene at the time.
Another patron of his behavior. That patron was offended and he left the business establishment in his vehicle in a high rate of speed. He returned once, left, returned again, left, and returned a third time. This was when the officers noticed him exiting his vehicle, brandishing a firearm, and as a result, being in fear for their lives, the officers discharged their service weapon in the direction of the vehicle, fatally wounding the male.
Following the police report, the family said that they had an uneasy feeling, which prompted them to conduct their own investigation with a forensic science company based out of California. Here's what they said that the company found as a result of that independent investigation.
4 shots were fired through the glass of the closed door, which killed our son. The door was then opened, and 26 shots were fired into the vehicle, hitting him about the body. The crime scene investigators reported that 45 shells were found on the ground directly 2 feet, within 2 feet of the vehicle.
Major's father tells us that he's been hitting the pavement and have sent the company's finding to the Prime Minister, the Attorney General, the leader of the opposition, and the head of the Christian Council. Recently, we spoke with the Chief Justice on the delay in inquest.
So some coroner's inquests are going on, but the police-involved shootings, which I think is probably the greater concern. They're waiting for a marshal to get most of those underway.
The family described Azario as fun and loving, the life of the party, Gloria Major, Azario's mother, shared with us the last message she had with her son.
1:51 that night. He was shot. The police cars passed here about 8:30, 8:20. I messaged him 7:51. I said, son, you waking. You waking in the morning, don't forget you waking. He said, Mommy, yeah, I know.
If he was here today, they said that they would share these words.
I definitely would tell him I love him. But one question that he would ask me on a regular basis, he would always ask me, Daddy, is God going to complete the good work in me that he started? I would really want to tell him yes.
I would tell him is that even in death, we love you, you know. My brother know how we are as a family, and we will fight for him at the death.
The Major family says that their son and brother's death have given them purpose. Laurencia Smith, Eyewitness News.
Well, in other news tonight, job cuts could be the first thing on the agenda for gas station operators if government does not meet with them to address their mounting concerns. Jose Etienne has more on this.
I know for me, at my site, and I encourage all gas station operators throughout the Bahamas, if you get a 24% increase in your operation costs, you need to reduce your staff complement. There's no ifs and buts about that.
That's President of the Bahamas Petroleum Dealers Association, Vasco Bastian, arguing that gas station operators will be forced to let go of workers if government does not solve their issues once and for all. Bastian says they've been grappling with fixed margins, which he says is a vexing issue for gas station operators. And making matters worse, he says, is the increase in minimum wage that is set to take place next month.
Mid-year, the government just said, hey, we're going to go from $210 per week minimum wage to $260. That is a 24% increase. How do you absorb that? From the 54 cents in gas, we pay our light bill, water bill, salaries, we buy goods for the C-store, we order fuel, all from that 54 cents. So when you come and you tell me we're going to go up on certain aspects of our model and we haven't addressed the margin increase on gas or diesel, imagine how our dealers feel.
Here's how Bastian breaks down the issue.
Whenever the price of gas increases, if the price of gas goes from $3 to $8, nothing changes with your margin. Right. It's costing you more now to buy gas when you're buying it at $3 or when you're buying it at $8.
Bastian adds that while gas station operators have been patient with the Davis administration over these concerns, he says at this point, government is simply not playing fair.
PPL is going up coming the new year. Minimum wage is going up. With minimum wage comes NIB contributions. That's going to go up. When NIB contribution goes up now and all that other stuff goes up, your business license is going to go up. Gas station operators in the Bahamas will pay for business license come 2023, which has to be paid by March 31st, 2023, based on previous year sales. When gas was at $7.39 at August, you're paying business license on gross turnover, not on net profit. There's no net profit. That's what's established that, eh?
So here's his plea to the Davis administration.
We want to sit down with the Prime Minister again, Mr. Michael Alcides, early in the, before the year end, if it's possible, with Mr. Wilson, with all the bureaucracies and different personalities inside the Ministry of Finance, and let's put this baby to rest. We are struggling. We continue to struggle. We want to put this baby to rest.
Jose Etienne, Eyewitness News.
Well, government still confident tonight that the country will not go into a recession, even though it appears as if the entire world is bracing for one. Leah Cooper has the details in this report.
We decided that we're not going to participate in the recession.
That's Deputy Prime Minister and Tourism, Investments and Aviation Minister Chester Cooper when asked what's the strategy in the event that the Bahamas goes into a recession next year, as experts continue to predict a global recession. Cooper reiterates today that tourism numbers appear to be extremely strong over the next 3 months, 11% ahead of pre-pandemic levels to be exact.
If you look 6 months out, it's also ahead. So it's positive. And as the ADG mentioned, we will see additional last-minute bookings, so we expect this number to increase above and beyond the 11% that we're now seeing over the next 3 months.
And Cooper assures that these numbers aren't happening by chance.
We have done many marketing and promotional missions, as you saw. We continue to work with all of the BTOs in all of the countries where we have a presence. That team continue to be very strong. That machinery continue to be working actively. There has been a strategic plan in place over the past 12 months to increase airlift. We are ahead on all of our islands, all of our destinations by way of airlift compared to 2019. We are well in advance of 2019 in terms of our seat capacity. We have worked with the cruise lines to reopen in an orderly way, and therefore what we will find is that the cruise lines are making more calls to the country.
He adds that tourism officials won't let up, but they want to ensure that they continue to make 2023 the best year in the history of the Bahamas by way of tourism.
We have a strong team, and the brand of the Bahamas continue to be very strong around the world.
According to the central bank's most recent monthly report, which was released last month, visitor departures for the first 9 months of 2022 were 83.7% ahead of the prior year. Departures to the U.S. were up 69.3%, while departures to other destinations rose 301.6%. The most recent data provided by the Nassau Airport Development Company revealed that for the month of October, total departures increased to 85,434 compared to 58,857 in the same month last year. Leah Cooper, Eyewitness News.
Well, if you've got a news tip or if you've seen news in the making, call the IO News hotline at 397-6397. We also invite you to send your letters to the editor for publication on all of our social media platforms at eyewitnessnewsbahamas@gmail.com. And if you're watching on our Facebook or YouTube page, share your thoughts about today's stories. Be sure to hit subscribe and comment in the comment section. We want to hear from you. We're just getting started in Eyewitness News tonight, but when we come back, a new home for the National Emergency Medical Services. We've got that story coming up. And later, children in need get to experience the joy of Christmas. We've got that story right after this break.
This segment of the news is sponsored by Corona, distributed in the Bahamas by Jimmy's Wines and Spirits.
Welcome back. Here's a look at your Eyewitness News gas tracker, $5.97 at Esso, at Rubis, $5.21, and Shell, $5.86. Welcome back. Well, the health sector in Nassau taking a much-needed step forward with the opening of a home base for emergency medical services. Our Tyler Simonet at the commissioning ceremony today for this new headquarters and brings us the details in this report.
The wait time for emergency services poses a big concern for health officials, as it's revealed that response time could be upward of 20 minutes. Eyewitness News was recently on the scene of an accident where it took EMS nearly 1 hour to respond. NSU officials hope that the commissioning of the new NEMS headquarters located on Monument Plaza, University Boulevard will rectify.
Ideally, we would like for it to be within 4 minutes, but there are so many factors involved. If you have a team that's available, dispatch, of course, the first call comes into dispatch, that distress caller saying, I need help, I need an ambulance. Within a 4-minute period, we want to be able to dispatch that ambulance and have them heading to that site. Where we are located now, which is centrally located, within 10 minutes, we should be able to get east, west, or north, south from this location. There are challenges that make our our response time not what we would like it to be. On average now, it's probably sometimes up to 20 minutes or longer. And that is because of really the service is oversubscribed a lot. We have a lot of calls coming in.
The headquarters will also serve as a living quarters for any EMS coming from the Family Islands into Nassau, a training facility, and will be the main hub for coordinating national disaster response. There are currently some 120 NEMS personnel, but the Ministry of Health is hoping to expand. Now Director of the Public Hospital Authority, Dr. Aubenet Roll, laments that while they currently have 10 ambulances, only 4 are operable due to maintenance issues.
What we are doing, though, to minimize our response, though, is to increase our fleet. Of course, you know that the ambulances run 24 hours, and therefore the ability to maintain them. So we're now moving to get additional ambulances. As a matter of fact, just yesterday, I made a deposit on some ambulances because of the supply chain issues now. It's taking anywhere from 18 months to 2 years just to get an ambulance. And so we just made a deposit yesterday to be able to bring some in from Florida. And then also we're doing additional training. So we're increasing the fleet to do the response, as well as increasing our numbers and training of human capital.
Minister of Health and Wellness Dr. Michael Darville reveals that PHA and his ministry are partnering to train more EMTs, and he has his sights set on improving health care in the Family Islands as well.
Very soon, gone will be the day when you have to throw your individual on the back of a truck to carry them to the airport and to have the necessary airlift to New Providence. We, in this administration, assure you that we will put these services in place to improve the mortality and the morbidity of individuals who suffer from serious medical illnesses, who need to be transported from one place to a next on the Family Island, and from there via air ambulance to New Providence.
Tyler Simonet, Eyewitness News.
Thanks, Tyler. Well, after ground was broken for a multi-million-dollar coastal resort in South Long Island without an environmental assessment being completed, the Minister of Tourism and Aviation, Chester Cooper, says more will be done in the future to ensure developers follow the proper procedure before carrying out any type of construction.
Every project that we approve is required to do environmental assessment and an environmental management plan. So when we talk about a delay in the completion, what that means is that full-scale construction cannot happen. No dredging or no building of seawalls or anything impacting the coastline cannot happen until that environmental plan is in place. So I've heard some comments where a certain environmentalist was talking about consulting local environmentalists. That's exactly what's done already. It's mandated by law, it's in the requirement, and there is no approval of any development unless there's consultation with local environmentalists.
Well, Cooper noted that before construction is initiated, the standard is that an EIA is completed, and come next year, he says the government will be conducting some restructuring in Bahamian investment.
We're putting in place a compliance unit to ensure there's full compliance with all of the elements of the heads of agreement. So we're doing well in that area. It'll happen early in the new year. We're doing some restructuring of Bahamas Invest, and we'll talk more about that.
Well, the vendors on R.M. Bailey Park tonight tell our Laurencia Smith that they're feeling the weight of the high cost of duty and claims is causing them to hike up their prices for consumers. Here's that report.
Just like many small and medium-sized businesses around the island, the 80 vendors on R.M. Bailey Park also feeling the pinch of inflation, as one vendor tells me that the high cost of customs duty did a major damage on sales this season.
Cost, freight, by the time as you pay for the item and you have to pay custom duty, freight, and VAT, it costs more than the actual item. So freight has been a huge challenge for us.
It's the biggest challenge, trying to get in the stuff. You would order ahead of time, but the stuff did not come in.
It's expensive, very expensive, because you find yourself, if you spend $3,000 on toys, you can spend at least almost $2,000 in shipping, and and then you got to know how to calculate it down, and then you got to be passing the cost on to the consumer. But the shipping is the biggest problem.
Still have stuff holding on the boat that is still waiting to reach Nassau. It's backed up.
R.M. Bailey Park is historically known as a one-stop shop where customers can get everything from clothing to toys and everything in between. What can you find at the park?
And yeah, they really into scooters, hoverboards, basketballs, a lot of things like that.
We have the Christmas stockings, what you see inside of them. You have stuff for girls and boys, all ages, and they're really loaded and really nice.
I was trying to get some educational toys, and they went very well. They're selling very well.
And how have sales been going so far?
Good compared to over the years. I guess because of the pandemic and everything now is back in place, things is kind of a little slow.
Been slow, very, very slow. We had a lot of rain, as you know, this week. And most of the time, once it rains, people tend to go to the mall.
So far, not too bad. Can't complain, It's not as great as last year, but we're still selling.
Vendors say that they plan to be out there until Christmas Day. Laurencia Smith, Eyewitness News.
Well, as we continue our 12 days of Christmas, Eyewitness News feels as if everyone deserves a happy time regardless of the circumstances. One major resort extending a helping hand to those kids in need. Tyler Simonet has their story.
Children at the Nazareth Center got their Christmas gifts a bit early this year thanks to the Sandals Foundation. This is the third year that the foundation has brought Christmas cheer to the center, and the children were able to enjoy all their gifts and even some Christmas carols. Elizabeth Mackey, administrator of the center, expresses how happy the many children are every year.
It has always been the presence of Sandals in the Nazareth Center children's lives, and more so now that I'm being out with the mask, we can see exactly who we are having, and we can see the smiles. So on behalf of my 40 residents, who was 26 boys and 14 girls, I want to thank the Sandals again for expressing their gratitude and joy and sharing as much joy, including Santa, with my children. What is going to happen today when school gets out, and the ones who are here, I'm going to tell them what happened, because remember last year they were not in school, they were virtually, so they were all here. So now they're going to be told when they come what they miss.
Tables were lined with gifts for the children to enjoy, and Sandals made sure to bring a toy for every child.
We bought toys from different age groups. We have Elmo teddy bears, we have board games, we have basketball hoops, we have action figures, anything that kids of different age will be able to enjoy.
Administrator Mackey expresses that it's a time of togetherness and selflessness. Sandals hopes to be able to continue their holiday cheer throughout the whole community.
We care about our community, about the cleanliness of the community, our love for the kids, and giving back to the community. So we're here today at the Nazareth Center to give some presents, some cheer, some Christmas spirit from Sandals Foundation. Since the pandemic, it's been pretty hard for a lot of families to get back on their feet, and an initiative like this helps out a lot. It takes the stress off those who don't have it, so we came up with the initiative to just give back as much as we can through presents, through gift boxes here and there, clean up the beaches, assisting with the school, and stuff like that.
Tyler Simonet, Eyewitness News.
Well, still to come in Eyewitness News tonight, a young Bahamian has their eyes set on Broadway. We've got that story, but first, here's a check on tonight's weather forecast.
This segment of Eyewitness News is brought to you by Lucayan Car Rental. Great rental, great service, and great cars.
Your live look tonight over the Tawny-Williams-Darling Highway, where the temperature is right around 77 degrees with an expected dip to 70. This is Eyewitness News. Welcome back. Well, it's Thursday and we're jamming with Jose again tonight. He tells us about a young university student who's making her mark in Canada as she seeks to hit the big stage in the near future.
Fall on your knees, oh, and hear the angels' voices all night divine.
Meet 23-year-old Stanisha Diligence. She's a gifted singer who's hoping to achieve her big dreams, which is to land on Broadway. She started out her singing journey as a young girl, not knowing that down the road, singing would mean everything to her.
It was when our church had a church service taken over by the children, and I had to do special music. And so I guess it was from then I never stopped singing. I was forced to sing like a lot more often than I usually did. So yeah.
Since that moment, Stanisha has always been looked at as the songbird.
First grade teacher, she found out that I could sing, and the first song that I officially sang was The Greatest Love of All by Whitney Houston. Sang it for like assembly, and then from there it was just road.
Fast forward to her tenure in Burman University in Canada as a voice major, Stanisha is making her mark.
It wasn't until as of recent when I sang for my jury for exam, and I sang a song entitled Quando Me Vo, and it really brought out the potential that I saw, well, the potential I believe people saw in me.
She says her passion for music quite often takes her away from the mic, but gives her an opportunity to direct the choir.
Directing people, it's kind of easy for me. It comes like, okay, this is fun, this is very serious. Like, it feels refreshing. It doesn't feel forced. It doesn't feel like I don't belong. It just makes me feel like I'm doing something right. And so like when I hear different voices and different harmonies and etc., it just makes me feel happy.
Here's who Stanisha keeps in mind when it comes to perfecting her craft.
I like to look at Ella Fitzgerald. I like to look at Jennifer Hudson. I like to look at Brandy. I listen to a lot of different celebrities, a lot of songs. Recently I've been listening to Samara Joy.
After graduating university, here's what she's hoping to accomplish.
I want to get into the theater world, the Broadways and stuff, so I'd be looking at La Boheme, all the musical etc. I'm looking into going into master school. One of the schools I'm really looking into going to is Indiana University. I think practicing, very much, a lot of practicing.
Jose Etienne, Eyewitness News.
Well, stay right with us. Our Devontae Hanna has the latest in sports. Good evening, Devontae.
Well, good evening, Janelle. We've got a pair of new swimming national records. We'll tell you all about it right after this.
This segment of the news is brought to you by Hennessy, the spirit of sports in the Bahamas.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Eyewitness Sports. I'm Devontae Hanna. We begin tonight in the pool as Bahamian swimmers Lamar Taylor and Luke Kennedy Thompson both broke national records at the 16th FINA Short Course World Championships in Melbourne, Australia. Now, Taylor broke the short course national record in the 50 meters backstroke yesterday, clocking 23.58 seconds. He was second in the heat number 3 and 20th overall, just 4 places from qualifying for the semifinals. Taylor knocking nearly 3 seconds off of that previous national record of 26.10 seconds that was set back in 2006. Meantime, Luke Kennedy Thompson smashing Jeremy Nose's 400-meter free record of 3 minutes and 57 seconds, finishing in a time of 3 minutes 56.22 seconds. He placed 28th overall in the heat and 3rd overall in Heat 1. Thompson's last individual race is set for Sunday in the 200-meter freestyle. Now hopping into some volleyball action, the UB women's volleyball team hoped to reverse a losing streak Wednesday night against the Lady Technicians in Providence Volleyball Association action. Now, the Mingo started off strong and off of 4 aces took the first set 25-13. The Mingo stayed the course and held off a late surge from the Lady Techs in the second set and held on for the win of 25-21. Now, in the third set, the Lady Technicians again started a late run, but the Mingos defense put up a strong front as the Mingos won the set 25-22 and took the match 3-0. Head coach Raymond Wilson says the team is proving it can play with anyone in the league.
Girls are quite capable of playing this game. Once they stay consistent in regards to service and receiving, we could match up with anybody. They did a good job on the service tonight, and they did a good job receiving tonight. Defense was also good. So once they continually play at that level and at that pace, using the skills that they're capable of, we should have better results.
Now over into some NBA action. Buddy Hield and the Indiana Pacers are on the court tonight at this moment against the Cleveland Cavaliers. The Pacers now with a 15-14 win-loss record after defeating the Golden State Warriors this week. Buddy picked up 17 points in that game. Of course, for the latest from that game, you can stay tuned to our social media pages as well as our website at ewnews.com. Well, that's a look at sports once again. I'm Devontae Hanna. Stay tuned, though. We've got more news right after this.
You're watching Eyewitness News.
Corval Piper. 2022 saw us really up the ante in the way we try to help our small business customers and their businesses grow. We expanded our innovation series, and in a sense, we took Small Business Month and expanded it all year long. Through our innovation masterclasses and the granddaddy of them all, the Innovation Conference, we provided maximum exposure, resources, and tools to our customers, bringing them face-to-face with some pretty impressive local, regional, and global business trendsetters.
I'm really happy to partner with BTC. This is my first time here, so I look forward to really being involved in a lot of the future, events that they have coming. I feel that we can really empower small businesses in the Caribbean, and I want to be a part of that.
It's actually a pillar that BTC underpinned a few years ago just to ensure that we were able to celebrate the entrepreneurs within our society because, of course, they make up more than 80% of the economy.
I have revolutionized my business through Kenny and BTC. I want to say thank you for the opportunity and thank you for the basket too.
If you think 2022 was a big year to be a BTC small business customer, wait till you see what we are cooking up for 2023. In the meantime, here's to wishing you all a healthy, happy, and prosperous new year. Happy holidays, everyone. I'm Corval Piper. Be well and be back here next BTC Connection.
Well, that wraps up news this Thursday, but coming up and beyond the headlines with Shanique Miller, a look at today's top stories, as well as a panel discussion with all of her contributors. That's coming up and beyond the headlines. It starts right after this. That does it for us here at Eyewitness News. It's certainly been a pleasure having you in our company tonight. On behalf of the entire news team, I'm Janae Noel saying good night, be safe, have a good one, everyone.
by the hosts, guests, and callers on Beyond the Headlines are not necessarily those of management, ownership, or production unit of the Verizon Media Group. Beyond the Headlines is a production of ILTV Studios and cannot be reproduced or represented in part or entirety without express written permission of the Verizon Media Group. Beyond the Headlines is the intellectual property of the Verizon Media Group. Copyright 2021.
Alive, still connected, still with you.
A local doctor urging Bahamians not to give way to total abandonment this holiday season as COVID-19 has not gone away entirely. Also tonight, a timeline of Sam Bankman-Fried's and FTX's entrance to the Bahamas to the moment he stepped on an aircraft extradited to the United States to face multiple charges related to fraud. It's the Year in Review special, also this evening, where my panelists will give analysis on some of the biggest news stories of 2022. Good evening, all. Welcome to Beyond the Headlines, brought to you by Alive. I'm Shanique Miller. It's great to have you along this evening. COVID-19 is the last thing on most people's minds, especially right now, after being locked in for 2 years, which included no family gatherings. This year will mark the first year that families and friends will come together and gather, as the general perception is COVID-19 is gone. Well, not so fast. Dr. Susan Williams-Lockhart has been monitoring trends in Asia and wants Bahamians to not drop their guards. Dr. Lockhart joins us now to talk about COVID-19 and the fact that it's still an issue in countries like China and why Bahamians should be mindful. Good evening to you, Dr. Lockhart. Welcome to Beyond the Headlines. It's great to have you here on the show. It's always good to see you. What trends are you noticing, emergent trends in Asia as it relates to COVID-19?
So what happened is that, I was off of looking at COVID for a while. I had to get myself together. I was ill.
Declutter from all that.
I just did not even. But then what I started finding was that people were calling, and I would go to see people for one thing, and I would say, okay, this person has something, but they have a pneumonic process, and then that's COVID-19. And little bit by little bit, the cases once again have started sort of creeping up.
In the Bahamas?
Yeah, in the Bahamas, So it's not to a point where the system is overwhelmed or anything like that. I think what we have to thank for that is that many of us either had COVID, vaccination, so there has been a level of exposure, and as a result of that exposure...
Sort of herd immunity.
Yes, that immunity. I wouldn't say necessarily herd. We may not have got there completely, but many of us have been exposed to it. And some of us have had it more than once, some of us have had it twice as the different subvariants and the variant strains come along. So every time we get it, we get at least an immunity to that one. And if we have a good immune system, it boosts it, and we are able then to have a little more strength to fight the next bout that may come. However, what you have happening, and I started looking at China because I remembered in 2019 to 2020, when there was just this sort of little rumble coming out of China, you were seeing videos, you were hearing stuff. It was just like, it was a friend in New York who called me. She said, Susan, what's this thing?
And didn't we ignore it because we were like, oh, that's over there.
Yeah.
What is that thing called? It's over there.
Yeah, it's over there. It's over there. But we forgot about SARS. We forgot about MERS, which traveled from China to where we were, the bird flu, in like what seemed like an instant. And it was not until a friend who was living in New York that had started to feel the effects called me and said, Susan, what's that about this thing in China? What's happening? And when I started looking, I said, wow, there were incidents of this disease. They didn't really have a full name for it. And in China, you function a bit in a black box because their data and how we would report things in the West is not done like that over there. So, you sort of like have to sometimes extrapolate, but they were saying, you're seeing the crematoriums running, you're seeing people being locked down, you're seeing the hospitals. They built a hospital in 10 days flat over there in Wuhan one time. So they were saying, and that is how, and then from China, as we said, the WHO quarter and the rest is history. So when you read and look at the WHO and the CDC sites, they're not quite getting there to say as yet that, okay, it's a level of an emergency.
But no, you have to pay attention because they are still in lockdowns, a few areas of China, and they are still talking about it. I've seen the international news and read articles as well.
Right, and if you notice that what happened was the people got so fed up because everywhere else, everybody was free and they were locking them down. China came out of a zero COVID policy to one where they allowed people to move and congregate. Now, the thing with zero COVID is that it did keep your rates down. I think the reported death rate in China was something like 5,000, less than 10,000, which is sort of hard to believe. But let's say that's true because they were very stringent. They kept the rates down. Now people have just been released. So now you have a population that, unlike ours, has not been exposed to COVID, either through vaccination or through getting it. So that's what you call an immunologically naive population. And so what happened with them is that the different variant strains swept through that area like, you know, as we said, like water running down a hill. And so you had these increased admissions, you had many of the older people, you know, succumbing to it. And this is the situation. And then whenever you have a virus like COVID traveling through a very large population, like you will have in the city centers like Shanghai, and other places, Shanghai is what you're hearing a lot about, that has the capacity now to mutate and to change. And that's why everybody's sort of like sitting and looking at them because, okay, it's basically an Omicron strain that is available right now, that is there right now. And it's an Omicron, what we call Omicron B7, I think, which is the dominant strain in China. That's coming as a subvariant from Omicron B5, which was the variant before, but it's like a descendant of it. It mutated from B5 to B7. And so the purpose of a virus mutating is that it becomes more transmissible so more people can get it. Because the virus wants to live, it doesn't want to kill people. But at the same time, it does not necessarily want to make you ill or kill you or put you in hospital, right? Because if it did that, then it would not have anybody else left to, you know, it's like a squatter. The squatter doesn't want to burn down the house. He just wants to live there. But at the same time, nobody quite knows how that is going to play out. It may just be that that variant may just sweep through China and then they'll all get immunity and we'll all go along happy ever after as we were before. Or what may happen is like what happened when Omicron came on the scene out of South Africa in 2020, 2021. We may have a very big shift, a big change in the trajectory. And then what we may have now is what we call a parachute event, where now this virus, this new strain comes out, it's virulent. And now because people are very relaxed, even at the international level, they are no longer mapping the genetic variants of the COVID now as much as they used to before. And people are saying, like, we could run the risk that something could come out and we don't know what it is until...
Are you just being overly cautious? Because if the World Health Organization, PAHO, and all those other organizations are saying, man, hey, go relax, Merry Christmas, have fun. And here is Dr. Susan Lockhart saying, wait, by the way.
No, but when you read, when you look, I sat down and I went and what I realized, you see, because there's a language that they use. They use a language. Now, if it was everything was fine, they'd say, okay, you all go, you're not go and run. They're not quite saying that. They're saying we're still watching. They're saying it's okay, but we are still having a good watch. We are still keeping a close eye on what is happening in China. They're still doing it. So I say if they're watching, we need to watch too.
We need to watch as well.
Because that looks like something that what happened when Delta came. And what recently came out of the news, I think today or yesterday, was that they've now gotten that Omicron B7 strain in India. Now, India is another population engine. And you know that Indians, unlike China, they're more freer to travel. And when something comes in India, like I just take the strains and how it was. From India, it's maybe 4 weeks to get to Europe. From Europe, it's 2 weeks to get to the US. From the US, it's 2 weeks to get to us. So if you're looking at it, then we can say we will have B7 here by the time in the next 6 weeks, sometime the end of January, February, if not before. So you know how that will affect and impact us, because we are a different population in that more of us, as I said, have had COVID. We've been more exposed to it. Our immunity bar is somewhat higher, right? So it may just be that we can handle it fine. You know, it doesn't affect us that much or to that great an extent, but we don't know. So I think based on that, you still have to be careful. We also have two other infections. We have the normal typical flu. It's an H2N3. And we have RSV, which is around still. When you talk about the news and you look at what's happening in the US, some hospitals and some districts, they are being swamped and overwhelmed. And still, what you find is that in that population of people who have immunological issues, that's the very old and the very young. The very old people, well, their immune system is just burnt out. The very young, well, it hasn't fully developed as yet. When you look at those two populations, especially in the very old, they are still at risk of, you know, dying and having other deleterious consequences, high risk of hospitalization. So I say when I look at it, and we are so happy in the Bahamas, you know, you go in the mall, we all together, you know, as one, we talking, we laughing, we kissing, you go in the food store, everybody's trying to get their Christmas stuff, you go in the clothing stores, everybody buying the dress for Christmas, you know, but we going to do church, and Junkanoo is coming, everybody excited. exciting.
You know, Junkanoo, on top of one another, like totally.
Yeah, but even in the Junkanoo practices.
That too, exactly, in the shacks.
So at the end of it all, I think, especially if you know, so I tell people, I say, listen, I believe still that COVID is something we're going to have to learn to live with. It's not going anywhere. It's going to change. We have to learn to do it. But at the same time, let's be smart.
Yeah, well, the people may listen to you right now this evening and say, well, okay, Doc, if you're saying that we have to be smart and learn to live with it, then what are you talking about? Because let's talk about the habits of Bahamians, how we gather, particularly during the holidays right now.
Well, in the holiday season, you know, like I had not seen you and you look so different and beautiful. I came to hug you and you had to tell me, Doc, come on now.
Hold up. No. You come here to preach about COVID and then we'll come up and hug up on me.
So, you know, it's just exactly. So, you know what I'm saying? We are people, we're the British. We don't, you know, so I'm going to say, well, hello, how are you? It's good to see you. Jolly good, my dear. No, it's like, girl, what you saying? Or, my boy, what you saying? You know, and we want to hug. We want to be close because that's just the way we are. So I would say that, you know, especially if you have vulnerable people at home, especially if you have people who either may have cancer or some sort of chronic illness, you have older people who may have some sort of predisposing illness, something like diabetes or hypertension, or yourself, if you are diabetic, hypertensive, have kidney issues, even obese, have high cholesterol, you all have predisposing factors. And this was something that happened because I think, and we talked about that at length before, so I will not go into it, but our level of general health is not the best.
No, obesity is an issue. And before we talk about how to boost immune systems, we also want to talk, you know, this holiday season, people tend to forget about obesity. Oh, losing weight is not, no, don't bring that up until January. But let's just talk about, Dr. Lockhart, about how you can maybe make healthy those meals, because what happens, and you would know this, during this season, a lot of blood sugar spikes. A lot of people run in the emergency rooms because they're you know, just shoving it in.
There's a party every day.
Yes.
At work, we are again a celebratory people. We are happy we made it out of COVID, so we're going to celebrate. We're going to do it good. And as you say, we put away the medication, the blood pressure machine, the sugar machine until. So you have to just be wise about it. You know, for myself, I like fruitcake and I like pineapple upside down. So I know when I get there, I'm going to see those. But at the same time, so if I know I'm going to have that or I'm going out to a special occasion, then what am I going to do? For the beginning of the day, I'm going to try to eat sensibly. I'm going to maybe do a little bit more exercise than I would normally do, maybe put in half an hour walking or take the steps, be deliberate about it, because I'm going to be taking more caloric intake, so I need to burn more energy. That's simple in what it is, you know. In most cases, some people may have endocrine problems or hormonal problems, but the majority of us, fat and weight represents too much caloric intake and not enough energy, caloric exposure and movement.
Exactly.
Yeah, so we need to move more. That's one thing I would say that we do.
And I'm a proponent of, the doctor won't say it. She wants to be politically correct. You can make healthy all those traditional dishes
yes, you
on a plate, on a traditional Christmas plate.
You can do it. So instead, for instance of it, turkey is low fat and a very high source of protein, right? So maybe don't drench that in all the oily stuff, that the gravy that comes out of it at the end of the day. And have turkey, have vegetables, eat salad first. Normally there'd be something, whether it's coleslaw.
Did not say that. You just said the Bahamian way, so we understand. Because when you say salad, I was like, what's she talking about? Until I caught it. You got to let the people know, because, you know, now one thing we don't look at in Christmas is salad.
The green stuff.
No, what
but normally in most buffets, they're going to have some, whatever it is, whether it's the green peppers.
You ever been to a Bahamian house?
Well, not with the house, but I mean to say you got to do, or you eat some before you go. Yeah. Make sure you don't go there hungry. Because some people,
salad a day, I say that.
Some people say, you know, I'm going today to put that down. I know Jane have a sweet hand. Boy, that going to be rocking at that table. I going to eat and I have my foil to carry back for 2 more days.
Yeah,
I going to tote that for 2 days. The rest of the week, I ain't going to be cooking. But what I'm saying is don't do that, because when you get there, you are going to eat everything in sight. Right? You might even need Jane and all according to how you feel, right? But you are going to eat. So no, don't plan. Drink water. Make sure that you have some good food and meals before. You know, if you want, I like salad because salad is filling, right? If you want to do it, eat a sweet potato.
You heard what you said? They don't want to be in any which way imaginable full going to
but you got to think what you want to do, because you can't just take, you see, we have to plan it, because at the end of the day, if we don't do the planning, so it's hard, but at the end of the time period, everybody, the gym membership spikes in January, right? Why do that? You can manage what you do, because I know, I have a confession to make. I have a very good physician, right? And I'm a very bad patient. So I love my physicians. I tell them, I say, thank you all so much, you all put up with me. But my doctor looked at me and she said, you telling me you put on 10 pounds? I said, yeah, I travel. cold and I didn't want to get up and walk, and I moved from where I normally was staying, so, you know, the place I normally exercise, and it was Christmas, you know, so I just decided. She said, okay. I said, so what you going to tell me? I said, I think Christmas has ended for me early this year, and I'm going to start back on my, and I have to do that because there, you know, I'm hypertensive, low dose of medication. I was off medicine, but then I went back on it.
Just because you put it that you added that extra weight
yes.
and the eating habits that you figure, oh, it's the holiday, let me give myself a break.
So I'm done with Christmas when I say that, if I have to. So that's one thing. You can, how you choose to eat. The other thing is, like, we normally go big style on desserts and stuff. What I found is maybe you will have 3 or 4 desserts. Maybe take a little bit of each one, and you will find that, you know, your palate is not attuned to eat too much of any one thing. It's like if you're eating too much salt, it will stop you. If you're eating too much sweet, it will stop you, right? And maybe have half and put half away for another time. That's what you have to do. But you have to get strategies that you're going to utilize that will help. Because other than that, you're talking about your health right now.
No, and that's the most important thing. It may sound, we're speaking, you know, very lightly in terms of a bit of humor. But the thing is, this is a very serious conversation, because I was very surprised some years ago when I started really researching about health and wellness, and especially what you eat, because that's really what it is, what you eat, you know, and that so many people are rushed to the emergency room because of blood spikes. What the blood spike is, exactly the food she just talked about. That's the only thing that causes it. And so many people find themselves in issues, having medical emergencies, because of they figure that they just eat everything.
Another thing is, water is very filling. Put something in the water. Now, I don't mean the gin. I mean in the water. Put some cinnamon, right? Put some cayenne pepper.
Some lemon, you know.
Yeah, put some lemon. Put some apple cider vinegar. Put something in the water. Make sure you make the water look pretty. You know, put it in a pretty container.
And it tastes good. You're right.
Yeah.
Whether it's fruit and food infused, whether it's maybe some chlorophyll, that kind of thing.
Yes, you can get it, and you can put that in. You know, so encourage yourself to do it. You know, treat yourself well and say, okay.
Some magnesium.
Yes, there's so many things that you can utilize as well. So pay attention to that. Also, for most of us, especially now, and especially in terms of, you must boost your immunity, especially if you're going
I wanted to ask you about that. So what maybe is a handful of things that you can recommend, not just for this season, which is flu season as well, that you talked about earlier, but just to boost the immune system now and moving forward?
Everyone has an immune system. So one of the first things I tell people they need to do, they need to get enough rest. You need to get at least 6 to 8 hours of sleep a night. Now, I'm still there. Yeah, it's hard. So, or at least put your body in the bed and not move it for 6 to 8 hours a night so that you're resting. The next thing is you need to get fresh air and sunshine. Sunshine, it might seem odd. Sunshine helps your body produce vitamin D, right? But also when you're in the sunshine, it improves your mood. You increase the level of a chemical
nature. It is you're right. You guys heard that, and you know, just get out there and breathe the ocean, the greenery around us. Many of us still have a lot of green around us, which is great. Just put yourself in that environment. Really, really amazing.
Yes, it does. And when you do it, like you can use serotonin is a chemical that makes you feel happy. Actually, is what many antidepressant drugs do. You go out in the sunshine and exercise. You exercise. Your muscles are going to increase in tone. Your muscles are your machines. They are metabolic machines, especially the big muscles of the legs and the arm. They're going to burn calories for you for the whole day, even if you exercise for half an hour at the beginning of the day. So that's something that you want to do. So sleep, exercise, enough fluid, especially water. Water is key, right? And I mean, people drink juice or soda, but I would remind you that 1 ordinary can of Coke soda, which we love in the Bahamas.
Tell them about the sugar.
17 teaspoonfuls of sugar,
and
17,
salt.
right, of sugar in it. And I mean to say, so if you drink 5 of those, you have basically had yourself a pound. You might as well go on and board the sugar bag and just pour it in your mouth, right? So that is one of the other things. So, and not juice.
The juice is the same thing.
No, not juice.
The juice that you buy, that is.
Yes, no, juice is even, you know, fruits have sugar in them, and it's natural sugar, but even natural sugar at the body level is still...
It's still a lot, and so that's why there are certain fruits you eat more than the others. For example, watermelon, the berries, they're all safer.
Yes,
especially the berries, safe, blueberries, blackberries, that kind of thing.
Yes.
Strawberries, I saw some worms on a video, so I haven't had it for a while.
No, but essentially what you're talking about, you're looking for things that will not raise your blood sugar level. There's something called a glycemic index. And
exactly.
So and I tell people, the white people, right? When I talk to white people, I'm talking about white flour, white bread, white potatoes, white pasta, right? If you can, substitute those with some brown stuff instead, because then you have a high intake of fiber.
And eat the rainbow. Don't be afraid of the rainbow. Like we go to the store, and we mind you, more of us are going to the produce section. But boy, vegetables in particular can be very daunting, and they look like, what do you do with this? But that is where the health is,
No, because the colors are meant, every color has a vitamin attached to it.
Yeah.
So you want to have the red vegetables and fruits for your heart, you want to have the green ones for your cells, the white ones for your bones, the yellow, red ones for your eyes, okay? The black and blue, the blueberries, the black and blue ones are for your brain function. So you want to eat the rainbow, and I know, listen, prices have gone up in some cases, but you know something, you can still, I think it's the time for cocoa plum season, unless I'm corrected. You have cocoa plums on the trees, they're free, and you can get those. You have the dark ones and you have the red ones. You also can, you know, swap things with your family and friends. It's banana or fig season is there. Figs, or the green bananas, as is known, are a high source of iron and fiber, potassium, and other good minerals.
Are you talking about the plantains that, like, I think the Haitians and Jamaicans, they fry them kind of green?
Yeah, they do, but the plant, I'm actually talking about the bananas before they ripe.
The banana itself?
Yeah, that's what you call green banana. Yeah, you eat it, it tastes fantastic. And it's not so much done here, but in the South Caribbean and in Jamaica, it's done. You take the green banana.
I know, but the green plantain, or the not so ripe plantain.
The green bananas, you take it and you boil it. You know, you get it. That's what you do with it. Or you fry it, as the case may be. So there are ways, and if you have a fruit or vegetable, you exchange something with your neighbor, find out what they have and say, you have this, I have that. And this is how you do it. You can, for greens, you can eat the greens of like sweet potato plants, the greens, leaves on them, the greens on carrots, you can eat it. So there are many greens that are non-traditional, but we can eat those as well. So, and that will help augment, and will also help, you know, compensate for those increasing prices. But Shanique, now listen now, we're talking about prices, but let's look at it now. You know that our ladies, especially when the time comes for that Christmas outfit.
No, they will spend,
yes,
listen,
my
Christmas
dear.
Outfit, wait, let's start from the top of,
from the top go down.
Let's just start exactly how we do invest our monies.
Right, so we know that we have that $400 put aside for the hair, the shoes, and $400 might be cheap, you know, because some people, they're going to bling out now, because this is the first time in 3 years Susie Girl and Johnny Boy seeing me.
Yes.
I can't go out there. I can't go out there looking small. As I say in the Bahamas, you got to go there with all your clothes on, right? But, you know, so instead, I'm not saying don't do it, but maybe take $100 and say, okay, I'm going to buy some really good food. Because the way I look at it, I tell people is this: you will either take supplements and buy good food, or you will take medication and eat the hospital food. It's one of the two. You will either exercise and move your body willingly, or you will move your body when the therapist is trying to get you back after the stroke or the heart attack. I'm talking for people in my age group, not some of the younger people.
No, but it's not even synonymous with your age group, because if anybody at any age make a habit, everything we're saying, you age gracefully. You age without issues. And the thing is just to not to use age as an excuse, and to mean that, oh, you must eat and not move around as much. That is just
you had some,
simple.
and I would tell you, coming out of the COVID, we had some 25-year-olds that didn't do well. And there are some younger people you see in the hospital, they're 25, they're 30, but they have some of these chronic, they have hypertension, diabetes, obesity, they have everything. And again, that takes away from your quality of living. It takes away from just having a joyous season with your family and friends and enjoying yourself and enjoying that time. It takes away from it, right? You need to be able to eat, the FDA recommends you must eat 5 to 9 servings of fruit and vegetables a day. Most of us can't do that, or organic stuff. And unless you're living on the island, where you growing the food yourself, picking it up yourself, know they're not using fertilizer and GMOs and antibiotics and hormones yourself, the food that we are getting, and this is that's a whole topic of food security, and I know
I have that next week.
Yeah, you need to cover, because that is so important.
Food security, aquaculture, because, and I'm talking with the Hot Topics panel after the break, because IDB just said yesterday, and you all pay attention to this, food security is going to be a major issue in 2023.
Yes, because you know that when Mr. Putin invaded, Ukraine was the breadbasket of the world. I didn't know that, but all the flour, all of the oil, so many things came out of there that we don't directly import it, but it comes to Europe and to places that we import from. And if they don't have it, they're not going to send it out to us. No. So the prices of everything has skyrocketed. And not only that, we do not know, like for instance, with fruit and vegetables, they are only as nutritious as the soil in which they're grown. We have no control over that. We don't know what they're putting in the thing we get from where the grocers have kindly sourced it for us, because sometimes it's hard to get it. So therefore, I'm saying saying if you have what we call nutritional deficiencies, you need to take some sort of supplementation.
Yeah.
You got to do it.
Yes.
Right? Some people don't like to say, I can date, I can eat. No. Unless you could
because
tell
even
me.
If you're eating, but only if you're eating that 5 to 10.
Or you could, and not only
You
that,
know.
it's not just 5 to 10, but the quality. And you could tell me, okay, it's
yes.
being grown in the soil, it has this water, it has other situations like that, unless you know that. I will tell you, I'm a practitioner of what I preach. I take supplements and vitamins.
You take
yeah, I do.
several a day.
I take several a day. I take this, and I can tell you, coming out of COVID, that is what, because I could literally, when I was lying there, I could literally feel my body, the cells in my body trying to fight, and I had to give, I had to give them the vitamin C, the same things, the vitamin C, the vitamin D, the vitamin B complex, the zinc, the selenium, right? Because I got ill, one of the reasons I got ill and my husband got ill was because we were so exhausted and fatigued that it affected our immunity. We were at one point in time, we were seeing 18 and 20 people a day. Because you would go to one house to see one patient and 6 and 7 of them in there were ill. What you going to do? You know, you're a physician, you're there to treat people. So I learned from that, and as I said, when I start moving too quickly, I have my 13-year-old, she tell me, Mommy, time for you to go and sleep. You fall asleep at the wheel. I won't die right now. I won't go to my prom. Yeah, pull up and sleep, right? And I have done that. But I also guard myself so that does not happen, right? I take my B vitamin instead of the quick pick-me-up in the evening for sugar and other things like that, or coffee or an energy drink. I take a B vitamin that helps me to metabolize my energy so I feel energetic and energized. The energy drinks that I utilize, but they don't get their they don't get the energy from sugar and caffeine. It comes from adaptogenic herbs and vitamin B. So I have a line of supplements that I use, that I give to my kids myself, and anyone can contact me. Look me up on Facebook. Look at Capriata, C-A-P-R-I-A-T-A, Capri, like the pants and Ata at the end, health and wellness.
You speak very fast. Can you please maybe give your contact information?
Okay, so the contact information is Capriata Health and Wellness, C-A-P-R-I, Capri, like the pants.
Right here, Doc, right in here.
C-A-P-R-I, right, Capri, and then A-T-A, Capriata, and then Health and Wellness. That's the company that I'm the CMO of.
Is there a telephone contact?
Telephone contact here, 806-242 if you're away, 806-0199. So you call or text. Attach me on Facebook. I have an Instagram profile as well. If you contact me through any of those mechanisms, I'll answer, right? And we can have a discussion about what you need to do. Because I believe in this season, knowledge is power.
Yeah, absolutely.
And when
supplementation is key for all of us. I don't care if you are vegan. Supplementation is key. And like Doc says, she has a line that she swears by. She's also uses with her family, and also recommends to a number of people as well.
Yes, I do, but you know, you have to get something. And even if you're not able, you might say, but things really tight, 5 of us in the house are out of work. I remember, you know, what can you use? Well, you have lemons. Lemons give you vitamin C. Walk in the sun for vitamin D. Try to get like oily fish, you know, the tuna in the can, and the sardines that we have as well. Maybe
sardines, mackerel too?
Mackerel, and salmon maybe a little bit upper, but you could still get the tuna and the sardines, so people at that lower end, right? Avocados, I think avocado season just finished, but you may have some around.
But you could find some, because I want some avocado, Doc. You have any?
You could find some.
But yeah,
and avocados are excellent in terms of the good fats they provide, the vitamins and minerals, the fibers, and they're great for your cholesterol level as well. Also, to beans, instead of eating all the meat, which is expensive.
Yeah, take a meat break some days.
Yeah, take a meat break. Have beans at least twice. Beans are cheaper, and you could cook them and freeze them and do other things.
It's so wonderful to have them at least twice a week, as you were about to say. Just heap the beans up on the side of your plate, make a nice big meal. But it's all good on that plate.
Yes, so you have to think it over, and you have to make a decision for your health. This is the thing about it. Because other than that, you know, life is going to go on. The boss, the children, the traffic, what's happening. We are going to be under stress. You know, the IMF, we are going to be having many financial things happen to us.
Doc, don't say that. This ain't a show, Doc. You stick with health. Because we don't, it's certain things you just want to kind of not even have to think
but
about
what I'm telling you, because the other important thing I want to talk about here in this season, and I told someone the other day to apply to me, is our mental health. Because many of
important, because look at not locally, you would know certainly locally, but just look around the world, look at internationally. People are just making very permanent decisions on a temporary feeling. And it doesn't feel temporary at the time. So I'm not trying to diminish it or at all even play it down. But the thing is, Doc, as you were saying, mental health is also important.
Mental health
and be
is
intentional
key.
about it too. Doc, I feel as though whether it's a telephone conversation, whatever it is, some things cut it off if you think it's a trigger.
But some people, and I agree with that, but what I saw a good saying, it said people do not fake being depressed, they fake being okay. Yes. And that was happening. That's why everybody, some of these high-profile figures who had decided to end their lives, nobody could figure out what was happening with them, but
they were
obviously.
Functioning.
So what it is, if you think about someone, you say, man, I wonder how so-and-so going. Let me call you. Say, man, girl, I just called you. What you saying? What up with you? I know somebody, especially many of us this season, are going into the season with lost ones, with memories of loved ones who will not be at that table. For myself, it's my father and my husband and many other friends who passed from cancer and other things like that. So you have to acknowledge those feelings. And I was like, listen, I should be over it. I'm not. And it's okay not to be over it. I had to go put myself in counseling, right? The people at the Crisis Center, my good friend, Dr. Sandra Dean Patterson, excellent service. They also have sessions, I believe, and availability for free. They have a crisis hotline. I don't have it right now. I will send it and share it on my page. But if you're feeling like that and there's nobody you feel you could talk to, because sometimes people feel, I can't talk to anybody, nobody would understand. You call them and you can get a listening voice. Don't do something foolish to yourself that you would regret at the end. So mental health, key point to all of the things that we talked about. No, it's super important,
but they're just things you can do. I mean, like I said, you have to be intentional about who is in your space, who is in your air. Again, going outside in nature, surrounding yourself with happy things, watch happy things. Don't always watch things that bring you down. Certainly, when people figure they can call you and offload the latest information that you don't need to know, shut it down immediately.
I agree with that 150%.
There are many things that we all can do to kind of protect ourselves, and do not exclude. In fact, welcome. Even when you feel great, at least once a month, once a quarter, twice a year, a conversation with a therapist, a psychologist, psychiatrist, whatever it is, it's important.
Or a good friend as well. And we have a faith-based society. So many of us, that is a source of strength for us, or your faith community, whatever community that may be, you can rely upon them, and that's a good way. Most of us know to pray. I believe in prayer and the power of that as well too. So you also have to use the things that we have to help us to get where we need to go.
Absolutely. No, prayer totally is key. Absolutely. And don't talk to everybody. That's all I say. And talk to the professionals. But doctor, listen, I just kind of went against what you said, right? But I thank you very much, Dr. Lockhart. Always rich with information, and certainly, of course, information we all can use, not just this holiday season, but certainly into the new year and beyond as we continue to move forward. I thank you very much, Dr. Lockhart.
You're welcome, and it's so good to be here.
Yes, absolutely. Looking forward to having another conversation with you. When we come back, we're going to shift gears. Did you hear that Sam Bankman-Fried, that a Manhattan judge has given him a $250 million bond? Yeah. That happened today. We're going to talk about it when we come back here on Beyond the Headlines, brought to you by Alive. Welcome back to Beyond the Headlines, brought to you by Alive. Well, to the big story that's trending now for weeks, Sam Bankman-Fried was released on $250 million bond with restrictive terms. SBF was granted release from custody today by a federal magistrate judge who imposed highly restrictive bail conditions, including a $250 million bond and a requirement that he remains in home detention with his parents in California. Now, of course, that court hearing and the subsequent $250 million bail happened in a Manhattan, New York courtroom earlier today. And so we're going to just jump right in. I'll tell you this, I'm anxious to hear what the Hot Topics panel has to say. Good evening to Levin Miller, BTH correspondent. Good evening to Glenroy Pratt, BTH correspondent. Both good to have you both here. Hello to both of you, and happy holidays.
Hi, Shanique. Hello, Shanique. Good evening.
By the way, okay, I just want to know, you guys paid any attention in the first segment where at least, you know, how you're going to eat a little nicer this holiday season just to be intentionally healthier?
Yeah, you know, one of the challenges is they keep making these shirts with these pads in the front of them. So hopefully by eating, it'll help bring the shirts down.
What shirt with what pad, Glenn? I don't know if that's a pad. I'd like to know what's going on in front of you, in the front of you. Levan, are you planning on?
No. Listen, if you just make good crab salad, sign me up.
Well, crab salad is relatively healthy.
Not the way my auntie wants to make it. If you just make a good ham with the brown sugar on it. I wasn't really into brown sugar, but as of late, they've been getting it right. Because I'm a very basic kind of guy. I don't like too much of fanciness, right? Please don't invite me for no coleslaw or potato salad. I don't care what hidden recipe you have.
With sugar in it.
You want me to see, now you want me buying down the whole house, right? Right?
Because you know they got that American
sugar
way now.
In my coleslaw, I'm burning down the whole house. Don't put sugar in it. Don't put raisin in it. Don't put craisins in it. Don't put purple cabbage in it.
Man, my sister needs to make you some coleslaw. And I like traditional potato salad, which we don't eat we don't eat that often. But my sister makes a good coleslaw with onions and bell peppers. Lime.
Crab salad, sign me up. Macaroni, sign me up, right? No fanciness. Just onion, sweet pepper, celery stick. Don't go to your way. Peas and rice, sign me up. Turkey, if you learn how to bake turkey and it don't taste like cardboard box, sign me up. I'm into a little bit of everything, eh? Yeah. I don't want a fruit cake. Rum cake, sign me up, right?
But, the sinus man, right?
I tell you. No, that's what I want to know. Do you have sinuses? Because
I do have sinuses.
Doc, I don't think that people listen. I've been trying since 2017.
But can I tell you this, right?
Yes.
Nuts also irritate my sinus. As I get older, I don't know, I think I'm growing an allergy to...
What are you, 80?
Yeah.
I don't have to do this 40 yet. My
birthday is tomorrow as well, by the way.
You're kidding?
Yeah. I'm serious.
No. How old will you be?
Old enough.
Old enough to know.
Yeah.
Not to say how old you would be.
Yeah.
Happy birthday, Levan. Happy birthday,
So if you want to know what I want for my birthday, I want money.
Ladies, don't fall for it. Don't walk there and don't fall for it. That's all I'm saying. Listen, but gentlemen, I just wanted to kind of, because I know you all had something extra to say about that whole thing. But let's just get into the meat of this thing right now. Let's just start with the latest as it relates to Sam Bankman-Fried. You all heard me say about a Manhattan courtroom and judge earlier today awarded him a $250 million bond. By the way, is that the biggest bail that we know of in history? Anybody? Not that we researched this and paid attention to it, but certainly it is a substantial amount, eh?
Shanique, the man was worth $36 billion. $250 million is less than 1% of what he was actually worth as a human being. It is a drop in the bucket. I mean, $250 million sound like plenty to Negroes, right? But the man was worth $36 billion. And if he was unscrupulous enough to do the kind of underhand trading that he was doing, I do not assume that he ain't got money hide somewhere. All right? And so what is more interesting to me than the amount of the bail, again, less than 1% of his actual worth at some point, it's the fact that I even ain't sure if he's off the jet cut before they grant him bail.
Listen, but that part right there, leave it.
Yeah, and you remember last week, right? They tried to say, I saw, and this is where my friends over there at the COI lose me, right? Everybody's so corrupt, and this thing's so corrupt, and the la-da-da-da-da, and okay, so I think it's a white judge, isn't it?
Of course.
Is the white judge corrupt as well? You see, I can tell you this. I am of the opinion that the learned magistrate, her worship, Joyanne Ferguson Pratt, didn't grant bail because the Bahamas doesn't have as long a reach as the United States of America.
Because I wanted to know why we didn't grant it,
Well, because we weren't sure whether or not crimes had been made in our jurisdiction, and we were housing him, so we wanted to make sure that if he had offended any of the laws of the Bahamas, then we would be able to prosecute. We don't have treaty agreements with as many people as America. We don't have the superpower clout as America. If we ask a country like Italy or Cuba or one of those places, France or one of those places, to send him back, would they have any reason to listen to us? We don't sit in the room of the G7, right? So I understand why America doesn't see him as great a flight risk as the learned magistrate, who I think, masterfully
she was
executed the law.
She was meticulous.
Yeah, and so this goes right back to what the fella from the Senate hearing say, that all us, he's scared for the government of the Bahamas to get any information because
you mean the new CEO?
Or whoever he was. It was about white people not assuming that Negroes should be able to put this little white boy in a cage. I don't retract that. And again, I hear people say it's not a matter of race. Man, it's a matter of what then?
It's a matter of trust. Glenroy, do you believe, like Levin, that somehow we had to keep him incarcerated at B-Docks, where I understand he was looking around in sick bay saying, well, what's that scurrying over there? No, just me kidding. But do you believe, like Levin said, that we had to keep him incarcerated because we had many things to prove and could not grant him bail, as before the minute he stepped off the plane and had a first cup of coffee, they would told him, okay, hey, you have this signed. Yes, do what you have to do because, go.
Well, clearly, his whole incarceration was based on a dictate that came down from someplace else, right? Because he was sitting on the balcony and doing interviews and everything prior to him being arrested. It only until America said, hey, listen, you know my boy across the way, pick him up for more. And that's exactly what they did. And so the government and law enforcement only reacted based on the request of America. And obviously, because our bread is buttered by America, we had to respond in kind. I mean, it was just what it is. We are a small nation. I think Levin said it correctly. We have a small reach, and our ability to impact anything from an incarceration and real prosecutory standpoint would have been very limited in our jurisdiction. But what the other side of it also caused me to think that perhaps he was not taken in custody fast enough, because behind the lines, as I understood, when this whole thing was coming to some explosion, as it were, there were some local Bahamians who had the opportunity to get their money out first. So I don't know if that had anything to do with why he was not arrested, and people felt that there was they were set and they were all good, and so there's no need to deal with him in that sense.
Quite interesting. I mean, of course, we will continue to watch whatever the developments are. There's a general thought that he will more than likely not serve time and be released as he is now, with restrictions in place. And I think right now, initially, he's going to be taken to the home of his parents in another state, where he maybe will be monitored, or certainly don't have as much movement under those conditions that he was released.
If I'm not mistaken, he's going to California. Isn't that correct?
Yes.
To a mansion, I
don't know if you know, but California is high city living. It's it's not rural Alabama or like Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri, or anything like that. It's California. Right. So I don't want us to play the violin with tears in our heart for this boy. He embezzled people's money, allegedly. Tons and tons of it, allegedly. Any condition that isn't a prison cell is, you know what I mean? It is, in my estimation, it is almost like him getting away free. But I will say this, I never for 1 second thought, all the people that was making all the hoo-ha about who corrupt and who ain't corrupt and la-da-da-da-da, I never for 1 second thought this boy would do a day in jail in America. Why? Just the kind of crimes they like. They see.
Levin, but are you sure of that? Look at the other people. Remember now, they said, oh, this
you realize it is America that has created its own opioid crisis.
No, they have.
Okay. So as long as you ain't actually killing people, America wants... I won't be surprised if this doesn't turn into some sort of a test case study that they end up drafting law or legislation around.
Others have served time for white-collar crimes before.
Right. Agreed.
In the U.S.
But I'm saying to you that I imagine that they're going to fizzle this out to the absolute maximum extent of the law. I don't see Americans having the kind of rancor towards Sam Bankman-Fried as say the average Bahamian who may have invested their entire life savings to become a part of. And I also want to say this, for you all. That's the camera. Let me look in that.
That's the name on it.
For a bunch of people who believe in Jesus and the Bible, right? The Bible gives you the formula for how you make money. It says, by the sweat of your eye, I wish every Jesus one of y'all could lose your money.
Even you are wrong, because even there's a new way of making money nowadays and investing your money.
The Bible
and
don't lie. The Bible say, by the sweat of your eyebrow you will eat bread. My foot. And I wish, right, that by whatever means you all get your money back, somehow it evaporated out of your cupboard.
Even you are demonic.
No, and it's
at
because
a time of inflation and recession. That's what you're saying.
And if you, in all this inflation and all of this price spike, could just magically give some little fella sitting behind a computer that you've never met. The boy didn't even look like he take a shower when he come to meet the Prime Minister. And this is the fella I about to give life earnings to. And you have to be on some narcotic.
Yeah, but you can't judge a man by, by
absolutely,
his looks. Now, mind you, I mean,
why are you wearing a blazer?
I personally wouldn't put my money in the hands of a man wearing t-shirt and short pants.
Jesus, we're not going to do anything. In the Bahamas, he white.
Yeah,
he
but
wearing flip-flop with that kind of attire, or they figure he good. He's safe. He rich.
But you still can't discount it, because many millionaires, billionaires and stuff, I mean, they are not favored in the clothing aspect of things.
I don't disagree.
I remember many years ago, Saul Kersnow walked around, and he walked around unassumingly. You would think that this fella is a pauper. I mean, his old school jeans and his little beads in his hand and a regular polo shirt that you could buy anywhere. I mean, and you wouldn't, and the tennis was probably one of those New Balance.
What about that sound like a washout t-shirt, a pair of short pants that you look like you borrow because you look like you can't stay on your hip, and some slippers? And you come to meet the leader of, what is this, the fourth largest economy in the West.
Blame those who allowed that.
Exactly.
And so the military,
him and he showed up that way.
The military
because they would tell me, no, come here. Why we still black people like this? See, understand?
They wouldn't let me in the Department of Immigration in a pair of slippers. In a pair of designer slippers.
You can see the Prime Minister dressed that way.
Okay, so if I can't go in the Department of I can't even go in the Department of Immigration in a T-back. Are you aware of that? Are you aware that I can't go in the Department of Immigration if my jeans have a rip in it? Are you aware of that? But you trying to tell me little Sam Bankman-Fried could get on a jet. I tell you, the boy, look, he missed a shower. I even ain't sure if he took a shower that morning. He come here to meet the Prime Minister of possibly one of the largest economies on this side of the planet. And the military has suggested a long time ago, standard is very closely attached to bearing and deportment. And most times, people lack bearing and deportment, they also lack standards. What in God name then did y'all get this boy $36 billion?
He qualified in our eyes. You know what he qualified with? He had them saying billions you talk about. Okay. That's what qualified him, nothing else.
I wish your money evaporate.
And see, he also had the old school gangster type mentality, right? You know, when you start making money through illegal means, you start to share it. And there were people who were getting benefits as a result of the monies he accumulated. And as a result, they turned a blind eye to some of the things that were happening. I mean, and there were lots of red flags when you look at the whole FTX saga, right? But people just ignored it.
Red flags who? That you saw, Glenn, right? Because the Securities Commission of the Bahamas say that
spending. When you see someone is just spending constantly and just giving away money, who gives away money so frivolously?
Well, Glenn,
and who also spends on the level that they've been spending.
He made up the perfect story. He says that and he said this on a podcast. You can go Google this. I never wanted to make money to be rich. I always wanted to make money to give it to the poor. I've learned one thing in life, Shanique. Always have a really good story to sell whatever. To sell whatever it is. No, I mean, you remember? I was raised in Cat Island as a barefoot boy planting potato with my granddaddy. You have to have a story, particularly if you want to sell it to Negroes, right? But outside of that, Glenroy, I don't even know how this. And I'm stealing this from Chicago Line, by the way. I don't even know how this fella make it to know Securities Commission of the Bahamas. What about cryptocurrency trade is so sophisticated that we need the Securities Commission of the Bahamas to deal with invisible money floating in space.
But
it takes us 10 years to regulate the gaming industry.
Let me tell you what's going on, Glenroy. Levin really showing that he's 80. You know why? Because this is a new niche market in the financial services sector.
I guess that's why a funny number from Japan messaged me today on my cell phone and tell me they want to sell me some crypto.
Did you respond back?
I respond to them and tell them, you obviously don't know who Joyanne Ferguson Pratt is. And if you play around, you will find out exactly what the police can do, yeah?
But the reality is, this fella came to this country with money in hand, Don't forget, this fella started off buying cryptocurrency in America and selling them at a higher price in Japan. And he started accumulating millions and millions of dollars. This fella was generating millions a day. And so as a result of that, and then you start to have name brand people. Now, oftentimes when people see people with names associated with a brand or a product, they automatically assume that it's good for them and it's good to invest in. When you start talking about the Bill Clintons and you talk about Tom Brady and all these major investors with all these millions of dollars, I think Tom Brady put in like $60 million in money, right? The reality is when you start to see those types of investments and the fact that this is new and this is something that is on the cutting edge, people don't want to be left out of the opportunities that the world is now shifting into. I mean, and it doesn't mean that cryptocurrency is bad. We just had bad actors. And it is not just Sam Bankman-Fried. There's a collective of individuals who he is associated with. There's persons he graduated from school with, you know, and people who were inexperienced. I think there was some means or some idea of being able to regain wealth by investing it. That's like somebody taking the company float and going and putting that money into something else, hoping that they get a return, that they can put the float back and get a little profit. I think that's the kind of mindset that he had, but obviously it backfired when Binance CEO showed him what's happening and it all break loose for them.
So as long as nobody wanted to draw down on their accounts, he could keep this invisible money floating in space forever, right?
Yeah.
Because unless you want physical cash, there's no real way to know whether the money is there or not. I mean, every single money institution on the planet may possibly be doing the same thing. I don't imagine you have $5,000 or you look like you got $100,000 that you got in the bank. I ain't sure if the bank that holding it just got it sitting there, right? So I'm saying to you, but more red flags. The next person in line to him is his girlfriend. The only business that I am prepared to give money to where the husband is the CEO and the wife is the deputy CEO is a Baptist church. No ads. No ads. All right? I'm not doing that.
How are you referring to the Baptist church?
Well, not Baptist. Let me take that back. The Baptists are my friends.
The church as a business. You said the only business you
that's the only place where the fella in charge, deputy, is his wife. I prepared to put money in because God could deal with them. But I'm not. And I think we've proven it already in this year. The last thing you want to be caught up in is a bad money deal between a man and a woman who's sleeping on the same pillow. Well, we've proven that this year more than once.
And it's more than just him and his girlfriend. I mean, it apparently was a smorgasbord of activities that transpired.
I like that word, a
smorgasbord. And so, you know.
So you're saying there might have been a boyfriend in there?
No.
Okay.
Listen, you know what?
we're using fancy words like smorgasbord. I just, I don't know.
In this new era, FTX, this is interesting, Yeah. But we are certainly seeing as a world, when people have a desire for wealth gain without having due diligence, sometimes people get shafted, and this is what has happened.
And gentlemen, that is what I want to ask. Levin mentioned the fact that he was the president, his wife, vice president, Glenroy said, his girlfriend, vice president, Glenroy said, listen, when there are obvious loops and gaping holes, but there are no real checks and balances, how is it that the Securities Commission, just according to what we can just tell from the surface, did not go and say, no, Sam, you can't operate this major multi-billion-dollar company without these things being in place and every I dotted and T crossed. I mean, obviously we have ways to go and lessons to learn and lessons that have been learned moving forward.
But again, for me, see, to the degree that people do checks and balances, to the degree that their hands are not as involved. See, how many people were involved in this to the point where it was, okay, you involve, okay, we don't really have to check or we don't have to really put these measures in place. That is something that needs to be looked at, because sometimes these things only happen because you know so-and-so in charge or so-and-so involved that, you know what, you feel like it's okay based on the person that are involved. And that is sometimes the opportunity that creates the challenges that we are now facing in these situations, because we just turn a blind eye. And there were too many gaping holes. I mean, and this fellow was taking monies that were being given to FTX and putting it in his Alameda situation. And that in itself was against the rules of any financial institution or of anything of the sort.
What's curious to me is we know who the CEO is. Have you heard anything about the COO? No. Have you heard anything about the CFO? No. Well, again, I tell you, this must be a mom and pop store. I can't understand how one man is responsible for most CEOs cannot even sign off a check without the CFO. He can send instructions, but you can guarantee he has to take that to a CFO of some sort. How is this man able to move millions of dollars and there's not a single check balance from a CFO of a junior accountant, anybody, except for how him and his gal feel the morning they wake up? I believe Karl Marx says it the best. We are all in an all-out war for a limited set of resources on the planet. And I believe people are so interested in becoming different in their socio-economical status in the world that anything that looks like prosperity, they will take. That's exactly how them and the girl from the place in South Beach end up almost getting killed with the money put in the Zoom or the loom or whatever you call it, right?
The pineapple?
Yeah, right? And so all I'm saying to you is this. We, as a very small country, saw $36 billion, and we, much now to our chagrin, over-sophisticated the fact that this boy, in its very most genuine term, became a billionaire off of vendoring, which at its basic description is buying a bunch of garbage for cheap and selling it at double the value. That took no sophistication at all. So how, right, if something so menial bore such great fruit, did we get to the point that we're talking about Securities Commission at about this? Technically, anyone who sell onions could have done what he did.
Not necessarily. Now, keep in mind this.
He had to have had some level of
There
brilliance.
was no sophistication to it. He found a market that was giving away this product. He found another market that was prepared to buy the product at twice the value. He somehow financed the ability to buy up a fistful of these bitcoins and sell them in Japan at twice the amount. Yeah, that is the most, that's vendoring at its purest form. Yeah, but so tell me, how did it become so sophisticated? Right? That we need regulatory commission of the Bahamas and all kind of other people, attorney general, everybody got to... Nonsense. These people should have been reduced to exactly what they are. And again, I'm stealing this from Chicago Line. Nothing more than men who handle games of chances.
Yeah, but keep in mind, again, these individuals themselves, again, were looking at the long-term situation. This doesn't mean, again, this company... I mean, when you look at Binance, right? Mm-hmm. That's still a thriving situation and a big market there in itself. I mean, it is only because of Binance's communication and one little tweet that everything actually falls through the cracks for FTX. Had he been quiet and just went through it, things would not have been this way. I mean, there's still a lot of opportunities in not in FTX, but in the Bitcoin market. But it's just a matter now, this kind of situation forces the hands of those regulators and everything else to make sure that it is protected. Now, there will be people who will not go into it because, hey, after seeing what has transpired, but as time progresses, this is the way the world is going. We can't avoid that reality. But at the same time, we can't discount the monies that were behind it. These fellas, I mean, when you talk about buying an FTX stadium and spending $250 million here.
Several stadiums.
I mean, this fellow was spending money.
He's obviously trying to wash the money.
And assets, and even here, I mean, and how many people, I mean, millions of dollars here in the Bahamas.
And that's what I want to talk about. Let's ease into this. Let's ease into the fact that this guy came in on a horse. He was this knight in shining armor, not for a woman, for the country. And the country fell head over heels in love with him. He was already financing certain things, maybe made pledges for this and that, and
money gone.
Purchased major properties and all the rest of it. Were we just too happy to open up? Was he building a new hospital and the rest of that? He was building a lot. And so the thing is, were we just too happy to just have this wonderful just dump of money in so many sectors that we were like, let Sam do what Sam does.
And that's just how you get goosey.
Listen, when we come back, we are going to shift gears to perhaps one or two of the biggest stories this year as well. Certainly, of course, we're going to talk about something the IDB is warning about as it relates to inflation and all that stuff that's happening this year. How did you feel about the gas prices? How do you still feel about the prices in the food store? We're going to talk about that when we come back. Beyond the Headlines is backward after this.
Two cousins, two partners, a boy and a girl
Our spirit is what is connected to God, not our flesh. It is our spirit that is tied to the supernatural, not our flesh. Your spirit knows all about you, and God knows all about your spirit, and that's the part of man God communicates with, your spirit. Ladies and gentlemen, God never intended for the lives of his people to be governed by their senses or limited by natural capabilities. Please hear me. Your life is designed to be lived in the supernatural. Please hear that. So to live in the supernatural is to recognize that there exists two worlds: a physical and a spiritual, a natural and a supernatural. Are you listening to me, please? It's the spiritual, it's the supernatural. That's the part of the world system that God wants you to take authority in. You are not here to stay. You are an ambassador for Christ, and after a while you will be recalled.
Well, that does it for our show this evening. Thank you so much for joining us. We certainly enjoyed having you along and look forward to having you right back here tomorrow evening. For the entire Beyond the Headlines team, I'm Shanique Miller saying happy holidays. See you tomorrow night. Make it a great evening.
So what's it gonna be? Do you want to be a part of Cash and Go's Home for the Holidays giveaway? Yeah, you.
Me?
You! What are you looking around for? In the magenta? Or is that fuchsia? Doesn't even matter. Get on in here. Come on, hop in the TV. With a purchase of $50 or more, you too can be eligible to win these holiday prizes. Cash and Go, Home for the Holidays.
The Verizon Media Group, home of ILTV, Paramount Systems Limited, Eyewitness News, and Beyond the Headlines.